You're listening to the Screen Team on 930 KWOC.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
To infinity and beyond!
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Please, what does it always mean? This Junior.
That's his name. Henry Jones Jr. Like Indiana.
We're named the dog Indiana.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I am your father.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Bond. James Bond.
And now the Screen Team on News Radio 930 KWOC. It's Saturday, 6 o'clock. It's time for another edition of the Screen Team right here on Today's Talk 930 KWOC. Being brought to you by 33 Productions and also Whitworth Gift Chest Jewelers, where Walmart is next door to us. Being joined always by the lovely, the talented, the very beautiful Stacey Anderson.
Yay!
And also we have the okay Sabrina J.
How's that couch working out for you, honey?
We got Luke with us, too.
As always.
As always.
Our inspiration for keeping good quality movies in our face.
That's right. And we had some really good quality movies this week. Stacey has picked them, and her first pick was an old classic back from 1957 called 12 Angry Men. Stacey.
And boy, were they angry.
They were. I mean, all of them. It was like a hot summer day. There was no AC back then, and
they all had suits and long sleeve shirts, and
they were in courts.
Yeah. And they were trying to kind of figure out if the trial that they were, trying if the guy was guilty or innocent. I couldn't think of the word, man.
Oh, good times. I thought this movie. I think, in fact, Chris, you introduced me to this movie.
Probably.
It was really, really well done, and it reminds me of a play.
It does, yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't a play. And in fact, I think it might be as a play.
I think it is.
But anyway, it's done in the jury room. There's maybe one scene that takes place in the courtroom, and just like a few seconds. The whole thing is around the jury and what they are discussing in order to come to a unanimous vote of guilty or not guilty in the case of a young man who has killed his father supposedly with a knife.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
a switch knife.
Yeah, a switch knife. And there's one guy, Henry Fonda's character, that has a reasonable doubt.
Juror number 8.
Yeah, and he holds up the whole thing because they walk in, they're like, who's voting guilty? Everybody raises their hand but him. And he's like, I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But I think we should owe the guy at least an hour of our time to discuss it.
Exactly.
And that hour proceeds to take up the entire movie.
And it opens up a whole lot of new possibilities and things they never even thought of.
That's right. They were all so quick to judge and get on with their day, they didn't consider some of the finer details. And partly because the defense didn't have a good attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy, Henry Fonda's character, poses some questions, and they have to reevaluate some evidence and blah, blah, blah. The whole point of this, my whole rant here, is that it struck a chord with me with recent events. And I have remained silent about a lot of things that go on TV when it comes to court cases. And they put a lot of them on TV, and they bring a lot of them to the public eye based on one thing or another. But this movie reminded me that you should never say, oh, I would do this and I would definitely do that, because you don't know until you're sitting in that juror's chair what you will or won't say and do.
It's very true. It's very, very true. This is the second time I've seen this movie. The first time was with you, and then watched it again once Stacey picked it. And, I like the movie a lot. I think it's acted really well. I'm not in love with the movie, but I do like it, and I do respect the movie. I think Henry Fonda did an excellent job. It's just a few of the critiques, because that's what I do. I critique things, man. I apologize.
Don't apologize for being yourself.
You're just giving me that look like, oh, here he goes again.
No, do continue.
Oh, okay. I just thought a few of the actors were overacting a little bit, like Ed Cobb. I don't know which juror he is, but he's the one who's just like,
the angriest.
He's
excitable.
He's like,
of course I'm excitable.
It's just like,
he reminded me of an old Sylvester Stallone.
He's juror number 3, by the way.
Number 3? Okay.
Yeah, he reminded me of an old Sylvester Stallone, like his mouth. I expected him to go, Adrian.
Yeah, and some of the dialogue I just felt was a little dated. I mean, just the way they were talking. I would like to see this film recreated.
It has been in 1997 with James Gandolfini, Tony Danza, a bunch of those guys. Tony Danza. I looked it up.
We got to find that movie.
Hold me closer, Tony Danza. Stacey, what are your thoughts on the movie?
I liked this movie for a lot of things. Number one, I go through phases where I love to watch old movies. Mm-hmm. And this one was a classic you hear about a lot, whatever. They did so much with so little. And by that, I mean there was 16 people in this movie. 12 of them were jurors. There was a bailiff, the guy at the door, the defendant, and the judge. That's it.
Yeah.
And they made a very big deal with so little. There's not a lot of screen work. There's not a lot of, you just kind of it's all about the story. It's not about the stuff going on around it.
There's long cuts.
It's about the story.
Long cuts, like where they don't break the camera away from the scene. They just sort of pan around it and move around. Very, very cool stage movement, I call it, because that's a stage thing. But I guess that's what it looked like to me.
In 1957, they didn't have much to work with, I suppose, like we do today.
They didn't busy work the movie to death.
Yeah.
And that was good.
And I liked how all the men were dressed very nicely, and just the whole story. And Henry Fonda is such an incredible actor. I think he always sucks me in. Like, oh yeah, Henry's talking, I gotta listen.
Yeah.
But this was the second time I've seen this movie, and I would watch it again for sure.
I highly recommend everybody watch the original, and then if you find the second one, let me know.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to watch the second one too. So it's 12 Angry Men. You can find it on DVD or Netflix or wherever you get your video rentals.
Movie kicks.
That's right. We have to do a diaper change, and then we will come back as we review more movies here on Today's Talk 930 KWOC.